What's up guys, MizzoFrizzo from Pitchfork Academy here, and in this Unreal Engine 5.7 tutorial I'm going to show you how to retarget the mannequins animations from the third person template onto your metahuman. Anyone who's tried to do this has likely come across these warnings, such as IK retargeter bone chain root was unable to be normalized, chain too short, as well as the missing IK bones, especially for the feet IK. I'm going to show you a quick and easy workaround for this IK retargeter bone chain on the root being too short, and also how to move the IK bones from the mannequin onto your metahuman, retarget the animation blueprint, as well as make your metahuman into a fully playable third person character with everything working perfectly, including the feet IK, as well as fixing the land animations additive settings. But just before we get started, guys, I'd like to invite you all to join our free and public Discord server, the Pitchfork Academy. It's a space we've created where you guys can get together and discuss our tutorials, look for help, and mix with other like-minded people. I'll leave the invite link in the description and in the pinned comment, but without further ado, let me show you how to do this. Alrighty guys, now FYI, I'm using Unreal Engine 5.7 to record this tutorial, but everything I'm going to show you applies to any version of Unreal Engine 5, with the sole exception of the automatic retargeting, which was added in 5.4, I believe. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a metahuman to my project. So I'm going to click the cube plus icon right here and go to Quixel Bridge and head on down to the metahumans tab. And I'm just going to add Ada that I already have downloaded here. So I'm going to hit add. And if this is the first time you've added a metahuman to the project, you'll be prompted to enable some missing plugins, enable all missing plugins, and when prompted, go ahead and restart the editor. And now that the editor has restarted, I'm going to go ahead and show you the first problems that we'll be encountering when retargeting our third-person animations onto our metahuman. So firstly, just to double check the mesh that we're going to be retargeting the animations onto, I'm going to go to Metahumans and Ada and open Ada's blueprint right here. And I'll head to the viewport and I'm just going to select the body, which is the sort of hands and ankles here. And what I'm interested in is the skeletal mesh asset over here. So we can see here that she's using F, which stands for female, medium, normal weight body. And I'm going to hit the browse icon here and browse to this. So we've got F, medium, normal weight body here. And this is the skeletal mesh that we'll be selecting when we retarget our animations. So now I'm going to head to characters and mannequins, anims, and unarmed. If you're in an older version of the engine, your animation blueprint might be in a slightly different location, but if it looks different to this, what you want to do is go to third person and blueprints and open BP third person character, which we'd want to have open for later on anyway. And you can just select the mesh here, and over here, the anim class is ABP unarmed, which in older versions might be ABP Quinn or ABP Manny, but either way, you can just hit browse here and it will browse to the animation blueprint that your mannequin is using. And we can just go ahead and right click on this and go to retarget animations, which again, in older versions of the engine, you'll have to go to, I believe it's asset actions, and you want to find duplicate and retarget animation assets. So I'll click on this. And if we select many as our source skeletal mesh and our target skeletal mesh, we want to set as this female, medium, normal weight body. So I'll browse to that once more. And then with that selected, we can hit this little arrow here, set it as the target skeletal mesh. And straight away, you'll see a few warnings pop up down here. And I'm going to show you how to resolve these warnings right now. So the first one here says IK retargeter bone chain root was unable to be normalized, chain too short. And this is a very common warning. It's been around since much earlier versions of the engine, and it has a very simple workaround. So Basically, what I'm going to do first is auto-generate the retargeter, and I'm just going to export the retarget assets here. So this basically just exports this automatically generated retargeter. So I'll hit this, and I'm just going to put it in the content folder for now. I'll hit export, and you'll see we'll get these two IK rigs and the IK retargeter. And what we want to do is just go ahead and open these two IK rigs. So I'll open the source IK rig and the target IK rig. And in each of these, we want to scrap the root bone chain right here and just create a new one. And for some reason, this resolves the issue. So I'm going to hit delete here and delete that chain. And then up here in the hierarchy, I'm going to right click on root and new retarget chain. I'll leave all of this as default and just hit add chain. And if we do the same with the target IK rig here, just scrap the root chain here and then right click on root, new retarget chain, leave this as default and hit add chain. And I will hit save on both of those. And if I bring back my retargeting window here, I will just uncheck auto generate retargeter, and instead I'll select the auto-generated retargeter that we exported, which is exactly the same as checking this and then hitting export animations. But basically, we've just exported the automatically generated retargeter, and then we've selected it. And as you can see here, the warning about the root bone chain being too short is gone. And the only things that remain here are the IK bones, which do not exist on the Metahuman. So I'll show you how to copy those across from Many right now. And what we want to do is we can just close these IK rigs. We don't need those anymore. Now what we need to find is the skeletal meshes for both Many and our Metahuman. So once again, I'm going to browse to the skeletal mesh of my Metahuman's body here and open this up. And I'll also browse to the skeletal mesh of Many right here and open this up. And now, fair warning, guys, this has caused my editor to crash once or twice before. So what I'm actually going to do is hit save all and just make sure that we save all unsaved assets at this point. And then what we need is this toolkit window right here. And if you don't have this, it should be under window and toolbox right here. And we want to go to the skeleton, edit skeleton, and then scroll down to the bottom here and find all of the IK bones right here. And we'll also take interaction and center of mass here because these also don't exist on the Metahuman. We'll just click IK foot root and then shift click center of mass to select all of these. Control C to copy. Then we're going to hit cancel here. And we don't need anything else in here. We can close this, and then on your Metahuman's skeletal mesh, we'll go to skeleton, edit skeleton, click on the root, and then press Control V to paste. It will paste in all those bones. We can hit apply to asset, and then make sure you save this asset, and then also click the skeleton button up here to browse to the skeleton, and also save the skeleton. Because, as I said, this does cause the editor to crash from time to time. And while we're here, if your skeleton just has the feet or the shoes or just the legs or the trousers as the preview mesh, what you can do is you can click preview mesh up here and you can change it to the skeletal mesh of your Metahuman, or you can also find the preview version of your skeletal mesh here, which gives you a kind of outline of the entire skeletal mesh. And then down here, you can hit apply to asset, and it will permanently apply this preview mesh to the skeleton asset. But anyway, I'm going to save this and close this. And I'll also close my Metahuman skeletal mesh, and let's go ahead and try to retarget those animations once more. So go to anims, unarmed, AVP unarmed, and I'll retarget animations. I'll select Many as my source, and my target, I'll select my Metahuman skeletal mesh. I'll select the auto-generated retargeter that we altered and saved earlier. And as you can see, we've got no warnings down here, which is pretty nice. So all of our feet IK stuff is going to work, and we shouldn't have any problems whatsoever. So I'll select ABP unarmed and hit export animations. And once again, I'm just going to be lazy and put these in the content folder for the purposes of this tutorial. Hit export, leave everything as default and hit export. And we can close the retargeter now, and because we've got a bunch of new unsaved assets, I'll hit save all. And just like that, we have successfully retargeted Manny's animation blueprint onto our metahuman. So if we open up any of these, this walk to the right, you can see that that's working perfectly well, like so. Very good. Okay. Let's now set up our metahuman to work as a playable character and make sure that things like the feet IK are working and the animation blueprint is working. So this process can cause the editor to crash as well sometimes. So we're going to save early and often. First thing we need to do is once again find the skeletal mesh of our metahuman, this one here, and in our third person character, I'm going to select the mesh and I'm going to hit the little arrow here to use selected asset from content browser and set it to our metahuman's skeletal mesh like so. And just while I've got this selected, I'll also change the anim class here to our retargeted one. So I'm going to find that right now in the content folder, ABP unarmed right here. And I'm going to hit the little arrow and set it as the animation blueprint of this one here. And we can hit browse on that one just to make sure that we've selected the right one, and we have. And the next thing we want to do is head over to our metahuman's blueprint, and I'm going to select everything underneath the body here by shift clicking and selecting all of that. I'm also going to control click LOD sync and metahuman components here, and I'm going to hit Control C to copy all of that, head to my third person character, and I'm just going to select the root and hit Control V to paste. And then I'm just going to select the face, the feet, the legs, and the torso and drag them all onto the mesh like so to parent them to the mesh. And with those still selected, I'm also going to zero out the location and the rotation. And at this point, I want to compile and save, just in case my editor crashes. The next thing we need to do is set the leader pose from this mesh component right here, so that everything parented to the mesh, all of this stuff here, follows the same pose, the same animation blueprint as our main skeletal mesh here. Now, if we go to our metahuman's blueprint and we head to the construction script, you'll see that it calls a function here, enable master pose, and it passes through the feet. It calls it again, passes through the legs and the torso. If you open up this function, you'll see it uses this node set leader pose component. And all of those components that are passed through are plugged into the target here. So we can actually grab this node here and Control C it, and we'll go to our third person character, go to the construction script and paste that in, plug it in here, and the leader bone component will be your mesh. And then the target will be the face, feet, legs, and torso. I'm not actually sure if you need to set it on the face, but we're going to anyway. So we'll plug all of these in here to the target. And if we head to the viewport and then we hit compile, you'll see that your metahuman should look all good and correct now. The other thing I want to do while I'm here is just select LOD sync and change forced LOD to 0. And that just locks it to the lowest LOD so that the grooms, the hair, doesn't disappear when we move away from our metahuman. Nice. Now we're almost there to having this be a fully fledged character blueprint, a playable character with your metahuman. I'll hit compile and save, and because this is our third person character, it is already set as the default pawn class here in our game mode. So I'm going to hit play, and that should all be working now. I can even go over to a ramp, and the feet IK is working. Very, very good. But being the stickler that I am, I am going to want to change the control rig for the feet IK to be one specifically made for our metahuman. So that is basically working because she has the same IK bones as our metahuman. But if we go to the content folder here and open up ABP unarmed, we can go to the anim graph, and right here, the control rig. If we select this node, we can see here control rig class is this control rig for the mannequins foot IK. We can browse to this and we can hit Control D to duplicate, and I'll just change mannequin to Ada and open this up. And if we go to the preview settings up here, we can change the preview mesh to Ada's skeletal mesh, F medium normal weight body. And then once you've done that, if you check the rig hierarchy down here, you can right click anywhere in here and go to refresh, select mesh, and refresh this to be F medium normal weight body. It's a very similar skeleton, but like I said, I'm a stickler. I want my metahuman to have its own control rig. And then we can hit compile and save on this. And we just want to make sure that all of these foot trace nodes and any nodes that mention foot IK bones, these are all gray and not red. So see right here, we've got some red ones. If we just drop this down and search for IK and replace it with IK foot L, and this one, search for IK, replace it with IK foot R, and down here as well, got a couple more, IK foot L and IK foot R, and then we can hit compile and save. And I'm going to browse to this control rig and make sure this control rig is selected. And then in the animation blueprint on the control rig node, I can click the little arrow here on control rig class and set that to our metahuman's control rig. And that should be absolutely everything, guys. I'm going to hit compile and save save all. And if I hit play now, and I'll full screen this, we've got a metahuman, a very, very expensive cinematic quality metahuman in my project here. My FPS is not too great right now, but that's all working as expected. It can do everything that many can do, except there is a very, very strange issue with the landing animation, and we'll fix that because I'm a perfectionist. And basically, what's happened here is the retargeting tool has a problem transferring over the additive settings for animations. And instead of fixing that bug with the retargeting tool, Epic Games decided to turn off the additive settings for the land animation and just make it a little bit faster and hope that nobody notices. But I noticed, and I'll show you how to fix it right now. So if we head to our animation blueprint, and right here in main states and land, we've got our land right here. And this used to be an additive animation, but if we browse to the animation sequence that's selected right here, land, and open it up, you'll see down here in additive settings, it says no additive. But if you change this to mesh space, it will already have the additive settings that it used to have before they just lazily changed this to no additive. So we'll change that back to mesh space frame from this animation, frame 26. We'll hit save on that and close that. And in the animation blueprint, what you want to do is disconnect this, and then you want to use locomotion, use cached pose locomotion, apply mesh space additive. The additive you want to apply is land. Plug that in, compile and save. And now when our character jumps and lands, it will actually add that animation onto the locomotion animation. So instead of the feet sliding along momentarily when she lands, as you saw before, it is all working properly now. And that's it, guys. That's all we set out to do today. If this tutorial has been of any use or value to you whatsoever, please hit like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.